I can just pick 2 or 3 things that I'll speak into, and I'll leave my other colleagues to speak into them. The first one is the point on the debt, reducing the debt. I think this is very crucial because at the end, if we do not deal with this debt issue, then we continue to have little money coming into the steps and little money going down. And the more little money comes in, the less we see the issues of children being dealt with. The local government still has a very low budget, and yet the local government has to deal with the critical child rights issues. We continue to see the probation office in the local government not well financed and not well allocated the resources. Even the little resources that are allocated, it's another thing when it comes to actualization of the money. But we want to continue to see the increase that we have seen over the years, and at least the last 2 years that we notice at civil society, the increase. But it's quite important that we deal with this debt issue, reduce the debt issue, as earlier mentioned, with the at least agreed standards. I don't even know which is the agreed standards, because we should be having no debt at all, if possible. But at least get to the lowest point where, as a country, we don't have to pay back all the money that we're getting from our domestic revenue, and we are actually refinancing it into our population that is going to, in the end, bring us to a higher GDP in the next years, if they are well educated and everything. And so we need to protect the local government budgets, even as we continue to pay the debts, because at the end, the service to the child in the community is actually at the local government level. So for me, that's the first point that I will bring out and add my voice to. The second and the third are more or less related, and that is in terms of the accelerated school feeding program, and also the teachers, the staffing. The accelerated, if it has been shown, and just last week I was in Karamoja, and I just came back from Karamoja, and the greatest retainer and enrollment for children in the Karamoja region is feeding. It is food that is actually attracting many of the children in the upcountry or in the rural areas to get to school, because that is the only opportunity they ever have to eat more than one meal a day. It is the only chance that more than 60% of our population of children are able to get a well-balanced meal. And so this school feeding program is not only a request to government to quickly finance and to quickly enroll out and to have this policy in place, but it is an urgent issue that needs to be dealt with as soon as yesterday. It is the best way we have seen that children are able to be retained in school. First of all, enrolled in school. We have seen that schools that have feeding programs have the highest enrollment, but also have the highest retaining of children, and which is the goal of the country, to ensure that every child receives a form of education. And if we are to be successful in that, we cannot bury our heads in the soil. We actually need to finance the feeding program and accelerate it in places where it does not exist. When it comes to the staffing, allow me push a bit away from what has been talked about already, because that has been well elaborated on. But allow me talk about the fact of the already existing staffing that is there that is quite disappointing. We already know what is going on in our country right now, where the staff or the teachers have put down their tools. The private schools are still functioning, but the public schools have put down their tools. In Karamoja last week, like I said, when I was there were no children in schools. The schools were empty. Apart from those 1 or 2 or 3 teachers who are dedicated in seeing their primary 7 pupils succeed, majority of the schools are empty. There are more children in the communities. This means there are more children who are prone to sexual violence because there's nothing happening, there's no one protecting them, which means that there are more children prone to child trafficking, which means there are more children prone to child neglect, and many, many other violations against children's rights. So it is quite important that we see an increase, not only in the recruitment of teachers, but also in the facilitation of the teachers. The teachers are not in school. The people who are going to school are finding no teachers. This is the only place they can get feeding. This is the only place they get treatment. This is the only place they are seen and are known to be okay and alive. This is one of the only places where we can do easy monitoring of the whole well-being of a child, whether it is health, whether it is social. It is one of the places Uganda is able to monitor the growth and the well-being of their child. So without financing and ensuring that the teachers are well facilitated, Uganda will fail to achieve the goal of quality education, which will be a gross violation to the rights of children. Therefore, I join in the part of saying that we need to have more teachers, but even for the teachers who are there, we need to ensure that facilitation has been cut across and has been well laid out and is on board. We need to also quickly ensure that the teachers are engaged, encouraged, and whatever issues are not sorted out, are sorted out at the quickest point possible. Not because the government has money or no money, but because the children are the ones who are suffering. What is that saying? When the elephants are fighting, it's the grass that is suffering. Right now the grass is really suffering in the rural areas. So we quickly need to address it. And what is the quickest way to deal with such situations? Better budgeting and more financing to the issues of children. So we encourage government to increase that budget towards education so that even the teachers can be well facilitated and can be able to carry out their duty as teachers to help the pupils succeed in getting a good and quality education. The second last is around the youth and children. I totally 100% agree with the statement that we have come up with in saying that we continuously see that the youth and children department continues to receive the smallest fraction of the budget. And this is quite alarming. It is quite alarming because the child rights issues we continue to see, I mean the police reports have shown us, the Saudi 116 reports have shown us that there are gross violations of children's rights. The unit that is supposed to monitor, follow up, and ensure that these children get justice, both in police and in the youth and the children department, are totally under-financed. And because of that, Uganda will continue to receive cases of violations of children's rights until we have a financing. Allow me to think out of the box. Is it time for government to also think of putting out this element of youth and children from this gigantic monster called Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development that captures women, children with parts of the disability, labor, it captures a mouthful of activities that at the end the children are suffering as a result of this. Is it possible that National Planning Authority should also consider having this unit totally separate, this ministry totally separate, and it getting its budget as it should, so that it can be able to give the service to the largest number of citizens in our country? Possibly, that would be one way to deal with this item. Otherwise, my view is, if it continues to be a part of Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, it will continue to get peanuts of the budget allocated to that ministry. And finally, like under the recommendations, child participation. We need to ensure that the voices of the children are speaking into our budgets. Yes, we have an idea of what children need, but ours is just an idea. We need the actual thought and the actual voice of the children. So it is quite important that Ministry of Finance Planning engages with the children directly, engages with the local governments that are actually already engaging with the children. As earlier mentioned, there are children's parliaments, there are child reference national groups created by Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. There is actually a national child participation guideline that is in existence with Ministry of Gender that needs to be used by all the ministries to engage and collect the views, collect the ideas of the children. where they need to be planned for and what they need to be planned for. And we ask that they even allocate resources towards the child participation, so that that can become a strong element within our planning and our budgeting, that at all times we engage the children but not forget to go back and give feedback to the children. And we can do this through the already existing government structures. We have the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, we have the local government structures which are able to do that. But their voice in the budget needs to count and needs to be seen a part of it. That's the comment I would